Next week marks 1 year since Monroe Nichols became the mayor of Tulsa. Between homelessness, tribal issues, and a proposal to increase the city's sales tax, there's been a lot of action in just this past year. Tonight, we're beginning part one of our sit-down interview with Nichols about some of the things that have made headlines since he's taken office. We'll air part two at the same time tomorrow. So joining me tonight on the program to speak unedited about a variety of topics is Mayor Nichols. Mayor, you announced that Mother Fletcher passed away, and I was just wondering what your thoughts are. She was there when you won.
Yeah. I think about even the things we've done this year, the Greenwood Trust and the history-making nature of the election and all that stuff. And I think about the relationship built with both Mother Randall and Mother Fletcher. I was in Denver a couple of years ago for Hughes Van Ellis's funeral when he passed away. He was the survivor of his Mother Fletcher's younger brother. And just watching the three of them in particular, how they have continued to really push for a level of justice that I think at 100 plus years old, they never ever thought was going to be something that they were going to get in the ways that were possible. So for her, who was the oldest among them, and probably the sharpest among them, to pass away is certainly a loss for not only Tulsa, but for this entire country. She was a living legend and a trailblazer, and if you've ever heard her talk about her experience, but her life afterwards, it is one of tremendous inspiration. And so I'm appreciative for the time I got to know her a little bit, certainly praying for her family. But, honestly, I feel very grateful for who she was, how she continued to advocate and fight. And so I certainly have a sense of sadness, but when I think of Viola Fort Fletcher, I think about gratitude. I'm tremendously grateful for the great gift she gave this community in the way that she lived her life.
You're coming up on 1 year.
Yeah, almost 1 years old.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on 1 year since you've won election and became mayor?
I think it's been a heck of a ride. If you go back, and I said this in the State of the City a little while back, if you go back and look at the campaign website, which is still up and we have not changed it, and you look at what we've done to date, I'm proud of the fact that we came and did what we said we were going to do, and we continue to do that every single day. We didn't talk about homelessness and come here and try to do something else. We didn't talk about affordable housing and come here and try to do something else. We didn't talk about public safety and try to do something else. We talked about those issues. We asked people to trust us. I asked voters to trust me. I asked voters to hold me accountable. And as I look back on those promises that I made as a candidate and seeing what we've done here in office, I'm very proud that we've been really working to deliver those things for Tulsans.
Did you expect it to be as adversarial with the governor's office? And
no.
Are things better?
No, I don't think that things are particularly better. I think what we proved, though, is that when you have something like that happen, what some people desire for you to do is just to respond with anger and fear and play the game that everybody else around the country is playing. That's not what we did. We got to work. We continued to stay focused on the things that we were focused on. And in doing so, we cleared a large encampment where everybody in that encampment is housed and is getting the supports they need onto a better life. We've closed that encampment down so people will never come back to it again. And we're on to do that over and over and over again. So what I was really proud of is that we didn't let the partisan games of somebody else interrupt what we're trying to do in a very unified, collective way in Tulsa. And so, what the governor taught us is that focus and best practice will always win the day. And if you just lean into the politics of it, that's a losing proposition every single time. In fact, I understand that the state's even thinking about investing $800,000 in Oklahoma City for that. The only difference, I think, between Oklahoma City and Tulsa is the partisan affiliation of the mayor. But we don't let those things hold us back here. Republicans, Democrats, I said in the State of the City, we're all working together to get this thing figured out. And so there'll never be a time where someone can interrupt the progress that we're making here, no matter how hard they try.
What do you say, because Operation Safe, and even Operation Safe Home, they were, yes, they were in the woods, they were away from the general public. Yeah, they were on the side of the highway, but now they're sleeping in the entrance of my neighborhood.
Yeah,
and in our parks. They've moved to where we do notice them more now.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got to say, the most frustrating thing about what the governor did is that it jammed up emergency rooms. It had folks showing up more prominently in neighborhoods, as you mentioned. It really kind of forced the kind of negative, potentially negative interactions between citizens and those folks who are unhoused. Look, we have to get really serious about decommissioning campus, and we are very serious about it. We've asked for the help of the state and of the governor, dating all the way back to my first days in office. That never happened. And so what I hope is true, though, I hope it's true that the governor and the state, certainly the experience in Oklahoma City here in Tulsa, that everybody's starting to understand how complex this is. I still am very much willing and interested and desire to work with the state of Oklahoma, to work with Kevin Stitt on addressing this issue in a more comprehensive, best practices type of way. We either are all here to make the state better or we're not. I'm here to make the state better. I want to believe that everybody who's elected by the people are here to make it better, and we can come together to get this thing figured out. If you go look at a lot of the places that people were removed from, they're starting to return back, because the way that you come in and just do sweeps is not sustainable. So we have spent a lot of time studying this and understanding it. I think we can teach the state a lot. We could use state resources. We can all partner together to make sure that we're not just shifting people from one corner to the other, or kind of hoping people move out of state and go do something else, where we're actually doing things to put people on a better path and protecting our streets and reclaiming public spaces that every Oklahoman should be able to enjoy.
Is there a safeguard in place? Because, I imagine this is an issue. You could throw every dollar you have at it.
Yeah.
Is there a safeguard in place to make sure we're not just throwing money at it, but actually seeing results?
Well, that's the thing, right? So, our goal, and we talk about getting a functional zero all the time, and you can really judge that by three kind of driving metrics. So rare, brief, and non-recurring. Well, what does that even mean, right? What does that actually mean from a data standpoint? Well, rare means that you can keep up with the inflow. So in Tulsa, as an example, 3,100 adults fall into homelessness every single year in this community. So we got to have 3,101 places for those folks, just as a metric of, do we have the capacity to get people housed so we can support them, right? So the transitional housing is a method of making sure we can get them the kind of support. So is our available housing stock there? We're getting there. It's the reason why we have the goal of 6,000 affordable units and those types of things. That second metric on a brief is, can you house people in 45 days or less? Right now, that time period in Tulsa, Oklahoma is about 220 days. So we got a lot of work to do to bring that down. And then the third piece of that is the folks who we served, the folks who we housed in transitional housing, that we supported with all the supportive services, less than 5% of them being back on the streets within 2 years is a third metric. And so everything you're doing is really around those driving goals. So you're getting people housed, you're supporting them with an eye toward, do we have the housing stock? Do we have the system that gets people into transitional spaces quickly? And do our supports work to keep them off the streets, right? And so for us, it's all about the data associated with it and paying for the outcomes. The good thing is that we're not the first city to deal with this. We're not the only city to deal with this right now. So there's been a lot learned over the years, and we have some of the best thinkers who've been successful at making progress. They also know where they made a lot of mistakes in the past, and so we're avoiding a lot of those mistakes and pitfalls. Focus on a system that actually delivers for people in Tulsa. That's why I'm so confident we can get to functional zero. But to be clear, we need the resources to invest at scale. We know it's not coming from the federal government. Yeah. We know it's not coming from the state. It's already been proved it's not coming from the state government. It's the reason why, I put forward a sales tax proposal that would allow us to make the investments to, get people off the streets, get them supported, get them served, and make sure that homelessness as we know it today is a thing of the past.
Well, I was going to ask you, is the sales tax proposal dead, or is it delayed?
No. Look, I think counselors are going to take it back up in January. I encourage them to talk to the community, talk to folks, business owners, talk to people in neighborhoods. I put us on a very aggressive path for really good reasons, right? One, to make sure that there wasn't any break in the work that we're doing already, so that Safe Move could go on uninterrupted without any mishaps from a budgetary standpoint. To also make sure that should voters approve those resources, it would go into the budget process that we're getting ready to kick off, because Election Day would have been in February. And the budget process, I still believe, is the most transparent way in which we all come together as elected officials to invest in Tulsa. A lot of folks disagree with me. I think there's maybe some disagreement on the severity of some of our challenges. I hope over the next few weeks that counselors kind of understand the severity of those challenges, that counselors are, in a different mindset. I actually think, this is my perspective, certainly my perspective, that Tulsa can jump ahead of a lot of cities in our ability to meet the challenges that we have and our ability to make smart investments, so that whatever is going to happen from an economic standpoint nationally, we can protect ourselves from it in some ways. It is critical that we give voters some agency in making that decision. So no, it's not dead, but if folks don't advocate, my fear is that my colleagues on the fourth floor might not understand kind of the environment that we're in. And I certainly hope they do.
Now, the conversation with the mayor is not finished by any means. Tomorrow on In Depth, we are going to dig deep into the sales tax increase proposal. Lots of questions there, lots of content. We will continue that conversation tomorrow at 6:30 right here on In Depth Unedited. If you are going somewhere for Thanksgiving, you can always find our unedited interviews on YouTube as well.